What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are giving you a state of the markets and stock picks for April 1st, 2022. Yes, state of the market. It is the end of the quarter. We are getting ready to gear up for earnings. Yes, earnings are back. Even though we've had some earnings, we are getting ready to move into Q1 earnings this month. So we'll start really getting some heavier bank earnings towards the middle of the month. And then big tech will be more towards the end of the month and early May. So that is what we're gearing up for. And we've been waiting for a pullback. And we got a big fat red candle at the hourly close today in a power hour. So it was a very interesting day. There's a lot of talk about oil, obviously, with everything going on with Russia and Ukraine. That is driving up oil prices. And then Biden came out today tapping into more reserves. So that particular move is interesting. I don't particularly play oil, but it will start spiking oil in the coming days and weeks. It's just being patient with that. But ultimately, I will look into trading, particularly getting into a oil trade here, possibly coming up, just because of the move that Biden came out today with. So, but ultimately, looking into tomorrow, we were looking for that pullback, and I talked about this the other day. I mean, even if we do a Fibonacci retracement on going into tomorrow, what I'm really actually watching now, this is something I talk about each and every time. Whenever we break resistance, there will normally be a pretty big run, and when that runs out of momentum, it's going to come back and back test the old resistance, which will be new support, which we want if we want this setup to continue to be bullish. So being said, we've had a very historic run here with all these massive amount of green candles ripping up like this. Even if we look at this, just the play in itself, 11% on the index, which is absolutely ridiculous. This is from when Powell told us that they were only raising raises to 25-point basis move and still buying bonds. And so that we almost fully gained back what we lost in the beginning of the year, which is absolutely just crazy. And now we are starting to look at a pullback here. Again, it's end of quarter. So we need some reason to sell. And normally end of quarter, there's some big dumping, and it's kind of what we got towards the end of the day. I was expecting it more towards the beginning of the day, and we didn't get anything. So I kind of just left it. But we did get that dump. Reason being is I think we could possibly still get one more leg down to tomorrow, which would set us up perfectly. We're looking at that 38% on the Fibonacci, and we're looking at these supports. You're looking at the 20 and the 50 are basing very strong. This is the daily. These green lines I have are daily EMAs, and it's going to be the first retest. Yes, we did get a minor retest here. I don't typically count a quick break and a retest. That's normal. I'm talking about the big push up that we got here, and then the retest we're going for tomorrow. So tomorrow I am really looking at that 445 mark tomorrow. Again, dailies, you have to kind of give a little bit for daily supports because it's roughly around that area. But around that 45, what we can actually do, let's remove the Fibonacci. We'll go down in the 1 hour and then look at this tomorrow. So if you look, this is why I like going down to the hourly. You have a better view of what to see. We are starting to pop after hours. Obviously, that was a big dump. You're going to get a bounce there. On the hourly, that's actually support of the 200 EMA, so you're going to get a bounce there. Thing to watch tomorrow is this 450 mark. If we open up below this tomorrow, I can see us diving down to 445. And then at that point, I think would be a solid entry for another big bounce back up to there. Where we'll go from there, obviously, we're going to have to retest this 441 or 451, excuse me. We're going to retest that. Again, it's going to do the same thing like I just talked about on the daily, how you're going to get a break. You're going to get maybe a minor test in the morning, and then maybe we sell all the way back off. Should get a nice pop back to 451. At that point, you're going to get a hard rejection the first time. Any first attempt is going to be a hard rejection, so just watch for that tomorrow. Again, it really depends if we could break this level. If we don't break this level, we might just start heading back up again. That may have been a big enough pullback, but we have to see. Again, our supports are way down here. Your daily supports are way down here at 445. Again, first retest. I think this is kind of what we're looking for, because if we can get down to here tomorrow before end of day or midday, I'll be buying at this level because, again, that's first retest. You'll get a nice bounce out of here. Maybe this is what's going to lift us into next week and to start that little pre-earning run-up. Again, there is no new news. End of quarter, people are trying to dump going into end of month as well. So you got a lot of different expirations and stuff going on. And so now everything is swinging over to the new quarter. And if we can end up here and start the new quarter here, it would give us a nice boost going into possibly all-time highs, which, again, I said we needed a pullback. And if we can at least get down to that level at 445, I think that will be what we need to start running. Now, banks, one thing to really consider is banks have been taking a really big hit today. We need to watch the banks. The banks, if they continue to sell off, the banks need to find footing and hold. The banks can find footing and hold that can turn the market back around and continue pushing upward. But so again, ultimately, what I'm looking for is at 445. If we break at that point, I mean, we can still be bullish. We can still drop all the way down to 438, which is the 200 daily moving average, and still be bullish. It'd still be a higher low, in my opinion. And now we can actually probably tag here, the 447 mark possibly, and run up and continue to run. But considering the parabolic move, I would like, again, a little bit more of a pullback. If we could get a little bit better pullback on this, your 50% is sitting around the 200s. You're looking roughly around that 438. I am looking at the SPY here. I'm not looking at the SPX, so my apologies there. But so that's kind of the levels I'm looking at tomorrow. Again, once it hits this daily, you're going to at least get a nice pop. So nonetheless, it could be a really good intraday trade. And it could actually just reverse. You're not going to know where this thing is going to completely reverse. You got the 20 and the 50 EMA sitting at the 440 mark, 444 mark tomorrow. So I'm thinking right there could be a good turnaround and have us start going back up again, going off of events. If there's no new news tomorrow and we're here, I can see that being a good reversal spot going into earnings. Again, you still have to be very adjustable. If it pops and then starts to fade off and continue to sell, you can probably expect that we're probably going to come back down to the 438 mark. Again, I think if we come down that low, we're going to need a little bit more of some negative news to be able to do that, and need a bigger negative catalyst to be able to do that. So, and again, if we come anywhere near that 200, I think that's more of a wick is what's going to be there. I think there's going to be a lot of buyers there. So this, again, is just my opinion, but I think there will be a lot of buyers at that point, being a higher low from this point. I don't count this as a higher low. I'm looking from this bottom here. So anything that's closer to this bottom or above this bottom candle down here at the essentially where we originated from is what I'm looking at as the low. So again, if we can stop at any one of these rests, can even get down to 428 if you want, 429, and still continue to rip up again. But I think we need a bigger catalyst to get down towards these levels. So I'm looking at these daily EMAs. I think, again, good pop off of that tomorrow. If not, reversal and continue up. If not, we can drop that back down to the 200 here. Maybe not even that low, the 440. And continue to pop up there. So I think once we get in this range right here between 445 and 437, you're really starting to look at a reversal area here. And you have to kind of highlight the whole area because, again, you're not going to know for certain, but you're going to know, okay, at some point around this range, we could very well reverse. And again, you're talking about the index, so that's everything that comes into play there. So the banks don't find footing. Is why you need to be watching the banks, watching the rotations, watch the value. We've had a very good rotation between tech, value, financials. When one's not leading, the other one's very strong. So we've had that good rotation, and I think that will continue going forward. Again, something Kathy Wood talked about a lot too. If we have a good solid rotation of bulls into all the different industries, that is extremely bullish for the market. So again, watching those levels tomorrow, I think it's again setting us up for earnings perfectly. Again, earnings really don't like get heavy into earnings towards the middle of the month. That's kind of what we're looking at. So you have to be mindful of that. We may have a week or we may have a day or two of selling, and then we hold, and then we reverse up. So that's something to watch too. If you find that as the stock hits at a particular location and starts holding, that may be your cue to jump in and play it during the day, as long as you have a tight stop. But definitely wait for those dailies. At this point, you want to wait for the dailies. Wait for the daily supports, and then play those daily supports. Trust the lines. Again, the daily EMAs aren't going to be 100%. That's why I only play the 20, the 50, and the 200. I don't believe the 100 holds very well on the daily. I think it's a speed bump more than anything. But I think the 20, 50, and 200 are always the best spots for, in my opinion, for any kind of reversal. So that's ultimately what I'm looking for tomorrow. To go over Bitcoin real quick, again, Bitcoin still very bullish. Looks like we're getting a perfect retest. I talked about this yesterday too. We wanted a retest. We had that nice break. We are retesting, and this is what I said, is Bitcoin likes to make its move during the weekend. And if everything is aligning like I think it's going to, if we get that little bit of pullback in the SPY, just enough to hit that 20 and the 50 daily, and a little bit more pullback, even on Bitcoin, we can probably go to the 45K mark, get that nice retest. That'll set us up perfectly going into next week. Maybe Bitcoin runs this weekend. Maybe the rest of the stocks will gap up over the weekend. Again, a lot comes into play there too. You can't predict everything that's going to happen. Something in the news might happen, and then the market sentiment is completely changed. Again, you have to be mindful of that. Don't just go off of what I say, because again, I've always said you need to come up with your own thesis, because it can change on a dime with any kind of news event. Again, they can drop in at any moment, and you're not going to know of it. The best thing to understand is normally overnight, that you will get news overnight, and then you normally got a pretty clean window from market open until about that 1 o'clock time frame, 2 o'clock time frame, before news really starts dropping. So just be mindful that you're coming into major supports. You're coming around that 2 o'clock window. You need to be very mindful because news can drop. This is why I don't typically like to play midday. Because that's when news does drop, and then at that point you have absolutely no control. You're normally fighting and trying to get out of position at that point if there is bad news and it's against you. So being said, as far as what I'm looking at tomorrow, again, key levels, something I've talked about. This is where you find if this is going to be the dip to buy before we go back to all-time highs. You need to pick specific stocks that you want and be watching those key levels. And especially going into tomorrow and even the weekend, you have to see how the market sentiment is. But Tesla, as always, I think we fill this gap. I think we're going back to at least 1,000. I would really like it back down to the 925 would be even better. Again, this massive rip, we want to at least try to get 50% of that would be great. It is Tesla. For it to go back 50% of what it's gained already is pretty tough. But I could at least see us filling the gap. So at least trying to get back down to 1,000. I think it's a strong possibility or easy possibility. But when you start talking about the 950s, I think if you break below 1,000, you're going to really need, again, some bigger catalyst to start driving Tesla lower than. You might see a brief visit below 1,000, but I think people know this is going to be the pullback. So I think any of these key levels are going to start wicking as soon as you get to it. The 960 would be fantastic for Tesla. Again, that's your first daily support. If you can make it that far, we'll definitely have to see if Tesla can make it that far or not. But that's one I'm looking at. UPST, again, another one I've talked about a lot. Again, depends on how we open, watching the 100. Now, but if this wedge plays out, we could possibly even see an 80-point entry. Again, it depends on how heavy the selling gets tomorrow. Again, it may not even sell tomorrow. Again, we may have hit support in that last little huge sell-off we had at the end of the day. So you really have to be mindful of that. Just continue to watch and see where the market is. Again, what I tell you now, how the market's going to open, this is why I do a pre-market discussion, because the fact that stuff changes overnight. I can finish this video and 2 minutes later, some news pops off, and there's the war is over and the market's going to be at all-time highs tomorrow. So you have to be mindful of that. Shop is another big one I'm watching tomorrow. Key levels here, we're kind of been sitting at this key level for a while, the 675. That's the 20 on the EMA, the daily. Again, all my dailies are marked in green. I sometimes work out the weeklies in yellow. It just really depends on the stock. If I play the stock a lot, I'll do the weeklies, but on stocks I know and trust. So really, if it does break that, I'm looking at the 588 mark. Now, something to watch too tomorrow. If the market starts to sell, I am looking at your Amazon, looking at your e-commerce I'm looking at Amazon and Shop because they sell very quickly, and that's what I'm watching. Tesla is a fighter. Unless Tesla gets massive momentum to the downside, it could possibly even fill that gap. You can possibly play that, but it has to break that support right now. And Tesla, it's really holding that good support. So you need to make sure it breaks that support before you try to short Tesla, in my opinion. But Shop and Amazon, if they do break this tomorrow, because it's been holding this so well, that 672 mark, if we could break that tomorrow, we could get some nice selling back down to the 587. There is not really any kind of support down to that level. And again, if it breaks that, we can go revisit 510. I don't think it's going to go that low. I think we'll be lucky to get a retest here. Actually, if we get a retest here, it'd be a perfect head and shoulders play. If it does tag that, just be mindful of that. And that's why another great setup possibly right there. There's one shoulder inverse, second shoulder, and then possibly head back up. So I don't typically play that. So maybe that's not the case, but that's what it looks like to me. I don't really play that pattern. I only play wedges, and I play supply and demand and daily supports. That's what I play. I don't really play any other patterns. So like I've said, a lot of patterns don't play out the way they should. So especially in the environment that we are in now. Amazon. So we'll talk about Amazon. This is the one I'm watching tomorrow. Key level right here is 32.32. If we can break below that tomorrow, you can get a pretty clean drop down to 30.84. In my opinion, yes, there's going to be some speed bumps. But again, you want to see if we can break that. If we can make it down to that support, we have to break this 32.58, which is the 200 hourly. If you can break that tonight and then retest it tomorrow, this is why I talk about when you get that first retest on the break on the hourly, that's where you want to enter. And then we're looking at least down at the 31.71. You should get a nice bounce off of there. There's a lot of good support there. Again, that's what I'm thinking tomorrow. If we get a good leg down, that may be a really good entry for continuation. So you really have to be mindful and be able to switch gears quick once we start hitting these daily support. Is that going to be the reversal or not? Because again, there's still a very bullish sentiment to the market, even though with all the horrible things that are going on in the world, the market is not that. So in my mind, that's what I'm looking at. Google could be another strong possibility. This one really this one's good at selling as well, but it's been holding very well. So I look for a possible retest at 27.98 tomorrow. If we can, I think we're going to possibly wake up here tomorrow at the 27 40 mark. Could get a nice pop up to that 27.95 for an entry of puts, and then possibly continue on. Again, I think everything is kind of at that point to where if we get one more leg down, it's going to hit really good support, and then it could be the continuation. So just be careful with that. Again, I think if we do a short position, you're going to look for a key retest first thing in the morning, and then wait down to that support. Maybe not even take a put position. Just wait till it gets down to that major support, and then get in to be safer, because you don't know, and you're going to get a bigger bounce as opposed to trying to write puts down, in my opinion, because I think the market is still very strong. You don't want to get caught with the market reversing and wicking, because it's been doing that a lot lately. So that's pretty much what I got. I know this video is a lot, but I'm trying to explain a lot about what I'm doing, what I'm looking at tomorrow, because I think we've been waiting for this pullback, and I think it could come down one more strong leg, and I think we can get a nice bounce. If nothing else, we can get a really nice bounce, or we can continue down a little bit further. Again, we've had a massive rip. I mean, the whole market looks like this, where we've had this massive rip up. So, but if you've made it this far, go ahead and drop a like, and until next time, I will see you guys later.